You know, when we talk about the history of Turkey, it's easy to think we're just talking about the Turkish people, but we're not. We're actually telling the story of the land itself, this incredible place called Anatolia. And it's a story that's written in layers, like a fantastic archaeological dig, with one civilization stacked right on top of another for thousands and thousands of years.
I mean, just look at it. Anatolia is literally a bridge connecting Europe and Asia. Its geography is just so unique. And that position raises this huge, fascinating question. Why? Why has this one single piece of land been the stage for so much of human history? From the very dawn of civilization all the way to the complex geopolitics of today. What is it about this place?
Well, to even begin to answer that, we've got to peel back the layers and start at the very, very beginning. Because long before the Turks ever set foot here, Anatolia was already ancient, and it was home to a whole parade of incredibly powerful and influential civilizations.
And the timeline here is just staggering. Seriously, we're talking about some of the world's oldest known settlements, like Göbekli Tepe, which goes back nearly 12,000 years. It's mind-blowing. From there, it's just a whirlwind of history. You've got the mighty Hittite kingdom, the flourishing of Greek colonies all along the coast, Alexander the Great's epic conquests sweeping through, and then the founding of Constantinople, a city that would literally shape the world for 1,000 years.
This really helps you see how Anatolia was this constant point of collision. On one hand, you have the Hittites, a major power of the Bronze Age. On the other, you see it as the flashpoint for the legendary Greco-Persian Wars. This land was just perpetually a battleground, a prize to be fought over by the great powers of the ancient world.
So, after that whole classical era, one power came to dominate Anatolia for over a millennium. That was the Eastern Roman Empire, which today we usually just call the Byzantine Empire. Centered on that incredible fortress city of Constantinople, its influence was immense. It left this deep cultural, religious, and political legacy that defined the entire region for centuries.
Okay, and this brings us to a really crucial point. The history of the land of Anatolia is one thing, but the history of the Turkic peoples, the ones who would eventually give the land its modern name, well, that's a whole other story, and it begins far, far to the east.
So get this, the story of the Turks doesn't start in Turkey, not even close. It begins thousands of miles away, out on the vast steppes of Central Asia. The earliest Turkic groups we know of popped up around 200 BC, right on the fringes of this powerful nomadic empire called the Xiongnu Confederation, who were major rivals to Han Dynasty China.
So, how did they get from Central Asia all the way to Anatolia? Well, it was a long process that took centuries, but we can basically break it down into 3 key steps. First, you have these massive waves of migration pushing westward. Second, these groups started to consolidate power and form the mighty Seljuk Empire. And third, the Seljuks began their gradual but ultimately decisive conquest of Byzantine Anatolia.
The arrival of the Seljuks was an absolute game changer. I mean, they didn't just conquer territory, they fundamentally transformed it. They managed to unite a pretty fractured Islamic world, and because their own culture was highly influenced by Persia, they brought this unique Turco-Persian tradition with them to Anatolia. It was like adding a whole new, vibrant layer of identity onto this ancient land.
Now, building on that foundation the Seljuks laid, one of the small Turkish states left behind in their wake would grow and grow and grow to become one of the largest and longest-lasting empires in all of world history, the Ottomans.
And this was the moment the Ottomans truly arrived on the world stage. In 1453, Sultan Mehmed the Conqueror did what so many had tried and failed to do for centuries. He captured Constantinople. This single event didn't just end the 1,100-year-old Byzantine Empire. It kicked off a brand new era for the entire world.
And from Constantinople, which they renamed Istanbul, the empire just exploded across the map. At its absolute peak in the 16th and 17th centuries, especially under rulers like Suleiman the Magnificent, the Ottoman Empire was a global superpower. It stretched all the way from Central Europe to the Persian Gulf and clear across North Africa. Just immense.
But as we know, no empire lasts forever. For the Ottomans, we can pretty much pinpoint the beginning of the end to the year 1699 and the Treaty of Karlowitz. It was the first time they were ever forced to give up significant territory in Europe, and it started this long, slow, painful decline that would last for over 200 years. The final blow, the knockout punch, came in the 20th century.
The empire, already weak and losing land on all sides, made a fateful choice. It joined World War I on the side of Germany. When the Central Powers were defeated, the once mighty Ottoman Empire was carved up and dismantled by the victorious Allies. It was over.
But from the ashes of that imperial collapse, a new, modern nation was about to be forged through fire, war, and revolution.
The central figure in this unbelievable transformation was an army commander named Mustafa Kemal. As Allied forces were occupying the country, he refused to give up. Instead, he organized a Turkish national movement and led a brutal war of independence to kick out the foreign forces and establish a new, sovereign Turkish state.
And the change he brought about wasn't just a tweak here or there. It was absolutely radical. He literally threw out the old Ottoman Sultanate and replaced it with a parliamentary republic. He took a multi-ethnic, religion-based empire and transformed it into a secular nation-state defined by a Turkish identity and governed by a brand new constitution.
And the reforms came fast and furious. Mustafa Kemal, who was given the name Atatürk, or Father of the Turks, didn't just abolish the Sultanate, he also abolished the Caliphate. That's the centuries-old claim to leadership of the entire Sunni Muslim world. A huge deal. He switched the Turkish language to a new Latin-based alphabet, gave women full political rights, banned traditional clothes like the fez, and adopted European legal codes, making secularism a core principle of the new state.
Yeah, this quote really nails it. His goal was a complete and total break with the Ottoman past. It was a revolution from the top down, designed to create a modern, Western-looking Turkish nation from scratch. It was a seismic shift, and its aftershocks still shape the country's identity to this day.
So the republic that Ataturk founded then had to navigate the incredibly turbulent waters of the 20th century and figure out its place in a rapidly changing world.
During World War II, Turkey played a very careful balancing act. Its leaders met with both Roosevelt and Churchill, but they managed to stay neutral for almost the entire war. They only officially joined the Allies in February 1945, which was really more of a symbolic move to make sure they had a seat at the table in the new post-war order, especially at the brand new United Nations.
After the war, Turkey's strategic importance just skyrocketed. Facing pressure from the Soviet Union, it aligned itself firmly with the West. In 1952, it joined NATO, becoming a vital southern flank for the alliance and an absolutely critical barrier against Soviet influence in the Mediterranean for the next 40 years.
But that path to becoming a modern nation was anything but smooth. I mean, the journey since World War II has been really complex. It's been marked by the hopeful introduction of multi-party democracy, but that's also been interrupted by several military coups. It's seen times of incredible economic growth right alongside political instability and long, difficult internal conflicts.
Which, brings us right back to where we started. For millennia, this land has been a crossroads, a bridge. And today, Turkey is still grappling with that same identity, trying to balance its incredibly deep history with its modern ambitions. So the question for the 21st century really remains the same. Will its future be defined by its ancient role as a bridge that connects worlds, or will it become a barrier that stands between them?